It was the dead of night. New Orleans was draped in a thick, heavy fog. Suddenly, the sound of wood splintering echoed through a quiet backyard. A heavy axe had just smashed through a back door. Inside, a family was fast asleep, having no idea that death was standing right over their beds. This was 1918, the year New Orleans first met a shadow that would haunt it forever. The Axeman. He wasn't your typical burglar. He didn't want your money or your jewelry. He only wanted one thing: blood, and the sound of pure terror. This killer had a terrifying signature. He would break into houses by chiseling out a wooden panel from the back door. But the scariest part? He never brought his own weapon. He would find an axe already inside the house and use it against the people living there. In May of 1918, Joseph Maggio and his wife were sleeping soundly when the axeman struck. There was no struggle, no scream, just a brutal, silent end. The next morning, they were found in a horrific state, their throats cut, with a bloody axe lying right next to them. This was just the beginning. Attack after attack followed, and New Orleans was paralyzed by fear. People couldn't sleep. They sat by their doors with guns, waiting. The police were desperate, but there were no clues. It was as if the killer could walk through walls and vanish into thin air. People started wondering, was this even a man, or was it some kind of restless evil spirit? Then in March of 1919, the city received a message that sent chills down everyone's spine. A letter arrived at the local newspapers, and the sender claimed to be the axeman himself. The words were haunting. He claimed he wasn't human at all, but a demon from the hottest pits of hell. He warned the city that on the night of March 19th, he would go out on the hunt again. The whole city was terrified, waiting for the sun to go down. But the killer offered a strange way out. He wrote that he had a deep love for jazz music. He promised that he would spare any house where a jazz band was playing. If the music was loud, he would pass them by. But if a house was silent, he promised to silence everyone inside forever. What happened on the night of March 19th, 1919 was something the world had never seen before. Fear turned New Orleans into one massive party. Every single corner of the city was filled with the sound of jazz. Professional bands played on street corners. Families who didn't have instruments cranked up their gramophones. From the fancy clubs to the smallest kitchen, the air was thick with the sound of trumpets, drums, and pianos. The entire city was one giant concert, everyone playing for their lives. Everyone held their breath, waiting for morning. And amazingly, when the sun finally came up, not a single person had been hurt. The axeman had kept his word. After that night, the killers seemed to fade away into the shadows. By October of 1919, the attacks stopped completely. The police had a few suspects, like a man named Joseph Mumfre, but they could never prove anything. It's been over 100 years now, and the mystery is still unsolved. No one knows who the axeman really was, or why he had such a bizarre obsession with jazz. Today, when you walk through the dark alleys of New Orleans and hear the faint sound of a trumpet playing, you can't help but remember that night. The killer was never caught, and his identity remains buried in the history of the music. Will we ever know the truth, or will it stay hidden forever behind the rhythm of the jazz?